realised don't be looking a little bit Asian today. Don't be looking a little bit Asian today. We got our boy number one supporter Jay on the scene. As we said
Hello,
last
it's an honor.
as we said last episode, Dovi's on a trip in Thailand for about a couple of months now. So we got Jay taking over. I'm scared because he's controversial compared to Dovi.
Wait, listen, you say he's in Thailand. Are we sure he's not in Russia right now or Ukraine? Could be. You
That's
never
true.
know. Good timing.
Nah, he's on some eat, pray, love shit.
Yeah, nah, imagine we just see Dovi on the Ukrainian front lines.
Now you see him at the back of someone. There's a news reporter, and you just see him coming like.
He's like, I'm just on holiday, boys. But yeah, nah, so welcome to the podcast, Jay. And
Thank
you
you.
come on some spicy times because
Good timing.
what's been happening, if you've been living under a rock, Putin, as we've been saying, was like, fuck it, I'm invading, and he went ham. He went into Ukraine, and it's been quite sad seeing millions of people being displaced, being forced to move from their homes, their schools, their jobs, their livelihoods, leaving behind their what is basically just the men, and having to then cross borders. So it's been a bit.
What numbers did you guys see for that? How many people do you think have moved out already? I heard I was watching one of those videos from the news outlets. I think I heard 500,000 people have already made it out in the first few days.
Yeah, a lot of people were able
Most
to make out,
Poland,
and luckily Poland was taking in as many people as they could. In fact, what I heard is the UK ain't done shit, hasn't taken anybody in, has done nothing regarding that, although they were prime instigators of the situation alongside the US. And yeah, it's been crazy. It's been sad to see the videos. I couldn't even believe at some of the modern day warfare that's happening. We haven't seen things like this for a very long time, because before it's like some Middle Eastern country with some like a couple of AKs and maybe a grenade or two between the lot, and against a superpower. You ain't seen much happen. But now Ukraine have some weapons, and there were people donating stuff. So it's actual proper combat warfare in the streets. People with fucking RPGs taking out tanks and shit. Crazy footage.
What's insane about this is, we're living in, our age and our information where things, we're pretty much watching the spectacle of a war in close to real time. Close to real time.
Yeah,
there's these guys on Twitter who have these threads that are super long, but they're basically documenting from the beginning until every day, keeping up with videos on both sides, and then just showing people mobile footage and everything. It's insane. Some of them are fake, and then they have to take it down and stuff like that. Which is a lot of fake videos are going on as well. But
yeah, I know. But have you guys seen the? Because I saw some of the beginning things that were coming out was about the TikTok stuff. Did you hear how people were taking videos of their own armed forces and literally showing basically where the Ukrainian army was at all times? Fucking Russia, all they have to do is look on TikTok and find out where the fucking Ukrainian army was.
The spy plane instead of a spy TikTok.
Yeah, imagine. So they decided to ban. They sent a message out saying, "Guys, stop taking videos of our soldiers' whereabouts," because back in World War II, the British had to crack the Germans' code and figure out their messaging systems to be able to tell where the Germans' movements were. It was one of the biggest aspects of World War II. That cryptography of trying to crack the messages. These men were giving out for free on TikTok.
That's why they ban smartphones nowadays in the army, literally for this reason, because it's
exactly.
intel away for free. Especially TikTok in China, Russia. I mean, recipe for disaster, right?
Exactly, and that's what I've saw. It's literally war in 2022. People are making videos. It's when a bunch of Gen Z people, Gen X people are at war. They're just making little TikToks while they're chilling, waiting for the enemy to turn up.
It's funny you mentioned that.
Surreal.
I don't know what government. I think it was the US government. They were actually saying that if there is another war coming, like, can the Nintendo generation, that's what they called it, cope with
Yeah.
war and the hardships that come with it? And so on one side, yeah, I get what you're saying with the physical, but actually all of these gamers, if you put them on some drones, I mean, let's
That
see
would
what
be
happens
mad.
then.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be pinpoint accuracies here. Put a high score on it and everything. But yeah, so it's been sad. I felt a lot bad for a lot of people. And I personally know someone who's actually was stuck there out there, and it was peak. They were trying to get out for a while, and you can see how quickly society can deteriorate when those sirens came blaring out, and it was kind of it was a humbling moment for everyone because you could see that war could just happen like that, and suddenly you're being displaced. You have to get out. And then if you look at the way the the West reacted was with what we expected: huge sanctions on Russia, but something Russia was waiting for this whole time. They imagine if someone tells you, I'm gonna give you sanctions. You heard it weeks in advance. You told all the boys to hide the fucking money because clearly the sanctions are on their way, and then you still would go do it. It means the sanctions were never going to do too much to Russia. Of course, they're a bit shocked at how much is gotten like quite bad quite quickly, but they didn't expect this. But just to explain to people why Russia decided to actually launch this attack, Russia for years had issues with NATO expanding its borders. Back in the day, they made a promise that NATO borders will not get too close to Russia, and that was because a lot of countries they see their defense as depending on their proximity. So if you guys remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, the US put some missiles in Italy and surrounding countries that were close to Russia, and to go to basically take revenge against that, they went and put missiles that were basically nuclear warheads in Cuba. Cuba is a sovereign country. They can have whatever they want on their waters, but the Americans could not allow that. That was defensive issues on their side. So they finally that was when there was close to a nuclear war, but they resolved it. So now Russia's had the idea of Ukraine to be joining NATO means you could have a US, essentially a pseudo US base right on next to your border, about 500 miles from Moscow. They couldn't have that happen. Ukraine sadly was used as a tool in this squabbling kind of issue, because sometimes the Ukraine would want to stay in with the Russians, sometimes they want to stay with the Europeans, but they're also a sovereign country. They should have the choice to decide who they want to align themselves with. But sadly, the US and the UK knew if the Ukrainians decided to align with the Europeans, that there was likelihood that they would get massive backlash from the Russians, and they let them do it. They let them walk into this, which is a sad reality because the push for Europe caused a lot of deaths and a lot of destruction in their infrastructure, which is horrible. But we have to blame the main culprit of all this, which was Putin. He decided to just go in and attack these people, and instead of taking any other route like sanctions, or he decided, let me just go full nuclear and just go attack. It's mad, and
But
no one
do,
thought no one
you,
could see it.
you
Go on.
see with do you believe this whole like romantic story that Putin's got, that he's upset that Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union, and he's always had that in the back of his mind, and that's the reason why he wants them back under Russia, and he considers them as Russians. So there's two different ways of looking at it. Is he looking at it from that angle, or is he actually looking at it from the NATO threat? Well, it could be a bit of both, really. I don't
Uh,
really buy the whole like Ukrainian. He sees them as Russians, really. I don't know. Seems a bit. Why would
um,
you go this mad over something
yeah,
like that? You know.
yeah. For me, I have to say it's more towards the defense side. They
Mm.
never wanted to lose NATO. He was very angry that the US essentially helped get rid of the last president. I forgot his name, but he was aligned with Russia.
Yeah,
So
more Western now, isn't it? Thinking.
he now is far more Western, and what he's done now, he's pushed them even further westernized. So what Russia has done, they fucked up the bag hard on this, and they went
Mm.
too mad, and they
Fumble the bag.
They fumbled the bag here, mate, and now they're gonna get huge sanctions. The ruble is being shut out of any sort of trading, and I've
Yeah, I
never
think the
seen the
ruble
world ever
dropped
come
like at least 30%. I think at the
more
lowest.
than that. More than
No,
that.
I think it was just against the US dollar. I think.
I think it went down even further actually, and because now no one's taking it as trades at all. No one's grabbing. No one's even. You cannot switch from that. From that. No one wants it. So you try to switch from ruble to USD. You can't. It's hard. And
Yeah, I was looking at videos. There's a bunch of them, for example, because of the sanctions and everything, people try to avoid it. So there's long lines at the ATMs, just like we're used to seeing whenever any country goes into financial drought. I guess their banks don't have enough money to cover them, so people are expecting some sort of bank run, which we recently saw. Anyway, it doesn't have to necessarily be because of war. It could just be based on really bad financial circumstances, like we recently saw in Lebanon and Turkey, for example. So
yeah,
we'll see.
actually,
With
I
the
saw
ruble,
about.
we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah. So Russia is looking to seize nearly 700 billion of the citizens' cash.
Yeah,
They're looking to seize that money because of the dire constraints that they are at, and you know. But what we've been seeing throughout the time is loads of videos coming out of Russia. Things like the Ghost of Kiev. Have you guys heard about that?
I've
Do you
heard
remember
of it, but I actually don't know too much about it. So you
So the
can
Ghost
do
of Kiev was this guy who's a pilot who was out here taking out apparently on a mad one on a pilot, and he took out 6 Russian planes on his own, just backing it in this mid of the city, just going and doing barrel rolls and just taking people out. So
What?
they named him, yeah. So they got
How
named
do
the
you do
Ghost.
that? What?
Yeah, apparently with some mad skills, he was named the Ghost of Kiev. Everyone was like, "This is mad, this is mad." Well, they found out it was fake. It was just fucking footage that you got off a game. It was essentially
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about
which
now.
is
Yeah,
essentially like slightly Ukrainian propaganda to try to, I guess, instill hope into the people, possibly. But a lot of,
yeah.
it could be Ukrainian. It just could be that the internet was just
Yeah,
again
it could be
they
in Twitter stuff, internet meme. So
yeah,
kids,
and they get gassed
is like,
over things too
oh,
quickly. Yeah, and then later we find out it's all bullshit.
yeah,
Do,
it's
do
like
you?
Jay putting his background, the Call of Duty, you know what I mean?
I'm really there, yeah, in the battlefield right now. But do you believe the actual numbers that you're getting from Ukraine saying that they've killed roughly around 5,000 different Russian soldiers? I don't know about that, man. Like, maybe they've killed 5,000, but then they're saying they've got roughly 200 casualties from what I've seen. And I just feel like that's way too skewed in favor of
Nah,
the Ukrainians. Like, don't get me
you
wrong,
can't.
I feel like the
Yeah,
Ukrainians are doing a great job, and
yeah,
like they're some hard motherfuckers over there in
yeah,
Eastern Europeans.
100%. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I don't doubt they're like putting up more of a fight than most people expected, but I just feel like the ratio is a bit too crazy, you know.
Yeah, I think what's happening is a lot of the stuff. I can't trust too much of the stuff coming out from Ukraine, simply because it's for them. If they say we're losing the war, morale is low.
The
People stop
whole yeah,
fighting. You want to keep that morale up, and so if they need to lie, they will. And there will not
yeah,
just that. There was other ones as well. The story about the Snake Island. With the
oh
13
yeah,
Russian people on Snake Island, the ones who they turn around and they were told to surrender by the Russian Navy, and they were like, "Go fuck yourself, Russia," or something like that.
mm,
That story, when we thought they were madness, of course they're still mad, but the whole time they were said they were martyrs because the martyrdom means people fight for more. But those guys never
mm,
died. The guy came on the fucking on video and was crying. He's like, "Why did they believe I died? I didn't die. I just got arrested. They took me. They took us."
mm.
Yeah, they're like, "We didn't die." So another kind of propaganda story that came out, and there was many instances of these kind of stories that were coming out quite often that you couldn't
Yeah,
really trust.
exactly. Even when it comes to like missile damage or explosions, every single time I'm watching one of those videos, I'm watching it with squinted eyes. I'm just like, like how much of it is real, how much of it could come from a different time, different period. Because I don't know how Ukraine looks like exactly, and it could be
Exactly. Yeah,
any
yeah. No,
mixture
no.
of these things. Like it could be edited and old
One
tomorrow.
hundred
It's
percent. One
difficult
hundred
to
percent.
discern all of this footage and information.
This is what worries me though. Like I feel like Russia have got their like set eight like soldiers out on the front lines at the moment.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
even
true.
debates about whether they actually knew what they were doing, these soldiers. Apparently, they thought that they're going to Belarus for some live firing round training, you know, but then all of a sudden it ended up in Ukraine. Like, whether that's true or not, like I've seen other footage of these Russian soldiers, and they're wearing different uniform from each other. I'm like, surely, like they haven't even got their uniform with everyone else. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It just seems
I
a bit
think
too fishy. And I think if Russia really wanted to go on a madness, they really like could
they would
outnumber
have.
Ukraine like easily.
Yeah,
But I
and
just feel like they don't want to get to those measures yet, and that's what worries me the most because surely Putin does have a plan B that's way worse than what's going on right now.
and actually, a lot of people were saying that the original people he sent was just the cannon fodder, the guys that go in there that just to basically soften them up. And now apparently the main convoy is moving towards Kiev to take it out, right? And they're doing
They're
that
shooting
just before.
civilians now.
Yeah, and now they're doing it just before the peace talks so that they can get as much out of those peace talks as possible because of that leverage that they have that they can take Kiev by the nightfall. So I definitely believe that Russia has we kind of underestimate them, and all of these saying, oh yeah, they've beat them. Trust me, we the Russians' numbers was so much. They had 150,000 troops on the border. That was enough to take it quite easily, and they barely used any of those people. The air power was so substantially stronger, and that's why I was so shocked. The guys who were gassing, imagine, all the mandem gassing you up behind you. Yeah, 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 nah, back the Europe team, come through, bro, back the Europe team. And when the beef came down, these man just gave you a little bit of sanctions here and that. They did nothing more. The US and the UK, the countries that were gassing these niggas up hard, did nothing more to help him out. And this is what shocks me is the most. Is like if the US and the UK truly cared, mate, you guys would have ensured that country wouldn't have gotten invaded. But you guys, they knew from the beginning that they were never gonna do anything more than that. And they gave out a decree saying, oh, if Russia touches any NATO country, it's a war thing. They know because Ukraine ain't NATO. That's why they said that. So and you know what's even been pissing me off quite a lot recently. Everyone was been saying like, oh, this is Russia and Russia only to blame. Russia is to blame, but not only Russia. These countries, the US, have been playing political warfare, geopolitical warfare for decades. This is nothing new. This is just that Russia is now on the bad side on once again. But when really the US has been doing it to all the Middle Eastern countries for ages. While this was been happening, the US has been bombing Somalia right now. They've literally been bombing Somalia right now.
Yep.
While also being
Why
held
are they doing
heroes right
that?
now.
Like, what's their
They're fighting terrorism.
political angle? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Regime change, isn't it?
Yeah,
Any
fighting
country, you know what I
terrorism.
mean, bro. And America looks at every country like, who's gonna be ripe for regime change today?
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's what happened in Ukraine. They changed the regime, and that's why Russia was so angry about it. And this is the issue. The issue is the US, Russia, the UK, these big countries, they meddle in each other country's politics to basically poke at each other, not caring about what's in the middle. Saudi is literally destroying Yemen to a point that you wouldn't even believe. That makes the Ukrainian war look like fucking street fights, random little street fights. Honestly, it's shocking. The Yemen war is unbelievable what's happening right now. It should be the biggest outcry by far right now if we're really talking about proper, like, compared to but the reason we see so much of Ukraine is because it's in Europe and we are closer to that. We understand it a bit more, but nobody cares for the Yemen people who
Yeah.
and who be
So
getting
would you guys
destroyed.
agree then? Would you guys agree then? If you like, if we were being serious and we had like some professors to our aid, imagine like we had some experts, like serious experts in this field, and we said, objectively speaking, like who's doing the most damage across the world right now, and how should we like talk about this? It would not look like the way we're talking about things right now, like oh, Russia is making this crazy evil thing, and the amount, the biggest sanctions ever made in history are being lobbied towards Russia right now, with US, UK being removed from SWIFT, banks being
Yeah.
shut down. It's insane. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's a huge amount of sanctions. That's what I meant by insanity. But if you look at, objectively speaking, you could probably say the US is probably causing the most damage, but also somehow keeping the most peace at the same
Got the
time.
most allies though, innit? Because they're still
Yeah.
keeping enough interest going, and the narrative. That's the
Yeah,
main thing.
they make themselves look good. Yeah, there's like right now, like they're smart enough not to do what Russia did. They would just back it in a country where nobody's seen it in the background. They're literally, as you're speaking, they're still bombing people. Like, imagine, like, this is what I mean.
And they got the
It's like,
drones as well, where it's like we're detached. We don't even have to do anything. It's like
yeah,
the drones do it automatically
exactly.
for us.
Well, they come out with good movies each year, so I mean, let's keep the US going. We want to watch their movies. Support Hollywood.
Exactly. But let me just say, Russia is absolutely wrong in this, and they should be punished. And to be honest, great. I'm glad that they got huge sanctions. Let them get the sanctions. But what I want to see as well is I want the world to keep the same energy for the other countries, for the Palestinians
They're not
who
gonna
are
keep
getting
the same
attacked.
energy for that.
They're not
Nah,
gonna,
bro, they're
yeah,
not gonna do that. They
they're not
just
gonna
go
keep
with
it.
whatever the popular narrative is. Right now, the popular narrative
Yeah.
is Russia is the enemy number one. You saw in the UN Security Council, I think they had like some sort of vote on whether Russia's invasion was bad. I don't know, like some weird sort of like vote.
But they
The US
definitely feel threatened by Russia more than those countries you mentioned as well, though. You
Yeah.
know, just because where it is and all the NATO allies around it, I mean, we really don't know whether Russia would touch those NATO countries. You know,
And the main issue is, I think also, I guess the reason people are so kind of up in arms is because they see it as Russia needs to do one more step for there to be nuclear war. Like, they need to
yeah.
just attack a NATO country. They're not, like, they need to just do one more step, and that's why we're getting such sanctions and stuff happening. But for me, what happens if you bring, what I'm more scared of is what happens if you start to back Russia into a corner.
Yeah,
Imagine
100%. Russia
what,
just
That's
said
scary.
recently.
yeah,
They just said like, oh, we're gonna. Well, he didn't actually say it. Like Putin mentioned, like, oh, there's a nuclear option.
concern,
Like
yeah.
he kind of just like kind of said it, but he didn't actually say it in any way that tells them to start any protocol. You know what I mean? And I
But
Exactly,
guess
that's
yeah.
the
taking
smart
over
thing
Shinobi
about
as
what
well.
he's done. He's
You're
kept
taking over
it vague
Shinobi as well.
enough. He's kept it vague enough what his motivations are that you don't really know what the end game is. So you're thinking of all the scenarios really, and you've just got to dilute all of your strategies to every single one of them. You can't
Exactly.
you can't effectively go for one little thing, can you? Because I don't
Nah.
even think Putin really knows exactly what he wants at this moment in time.
I
Nah, that's
don't
a
know,
good point.
man.
That's a good point.
I think Putin knows what he was going for. I think he was calculating. He had bare time to think about it. This nigga was surrounding the country for weeks.
Yeah,
But
he was.
but
No,
I
he
think
was getting
He pulled
surrounded as
his
well.
yacht back to Russia, so he
but
didn't get
it's sad.
froze.
The one thing I noticed is that he didn't expect the level of sanctions this much. That I don't think he expected sanctions, but he didn't. I don't think he expected
I think he did.
so much to the
Well, I
level,
don't know. He's
because
just retaliating recently, isn't it? He just his team, I guess. I don't know which department I'm supposed to be announcing some sort of 3-letter thing.
yeah.
Russian letters, I guess. I don't know the names of theirs, but the finance ministry or something probably announced like something along the lines of, yeah, we're going to retaliate now with our own sanctions and our own what's it called arsenal.
Our own sanctions, mate. You can't. There's no space for you. Man said our own sanctions, bro. When you
Uno
can't trade with,
reverse.
imagine, bro. When no one wants to trade with you, what do you mean? Like the guys you actually are, you're gonna put a
No,
sanction
no,
on them?
there's still a lot, big West trade. Like as big as these, sanctions were, a lot of trade is still going to be going on, especially with countries like Germany, for example.
With the oil stuff, yes.
Yeah, with the
The Nord
gas
too,
and the
yeah.
oil. Like these are the
But
big, and even Boris Johnson himself was announced talking about it in Parliament when they said like you're not your your sanctions are the biggest we've done, but like we clearly have like these elephants in the room, and he's like, yes, that is oil and gas, and that's a big elephant in the room because everyone's
well,
going to keep purchasing from him.
It is.
no,
But like,
actually, that's been changed recently. So, where initially, the the biggest people against that was Germany and Italy. I reckon. I think Italy was the second country, but Germany hugely, because most of their oil came from Russia, and they just helped build that Nord 2
Yes, yeah,
pipeline.
no stream, yeah.
So, so they've decided actually that now there's rumors that Italy and Germany have decided that, okay, let's go for the hit. Let's go for the hit, and then they're gonna hope that other countries are gonna subsidize their losses, I assume, of where they, the hit on their economy and that stuff, for them making that change. Swift also kicking them off. Swift is looking like it might be happening, and Swift is an interesting one. But what they forget is, the Chinese have their own system, their own payments, international payment system that the Russians are going to be allowed to use. All you're going to
Oh,
do is make
really?
China more powerful on this. China is going to be
Yeah.
even more powerful because they're
Leverage
going to
on
be
that.
using
Yeah.
that system. Exactly. So what I'm thinking now
Or
is,
new system, yeah.
yeah, and what I'm thinking now is, I think if we keep backing Russia into a hole, and imagine, let's say all this, they do everything, they literally they finish Russia in one fell swoop, the whole country gets finished. Yeah, if they do that, it's over. It's actually
But
these
China's
guys
smart
will.
though.
What do you mean
China's
it's over?
smart
Like,
because
These men
they're
will
not
nuke
even
it
backing
on a
Russia.
fuck you turn. They're gonna be like, "Fuck you! I'm just gonna nuke the thing."
Have you seen China though? They're just quietly in the shadows, not doing anything, just like they have been with COVID and just observing everything. Like what's going
They
on around
always
the
do
world?
that, bro. They always
COVID, they've
acted.
done it with this as well. And you're talking about leverage. Ukraine, that first gas pipe that was going right through Ukraine, you know, and this second one's going around Ukraine, and also didn't Russia get Ukraine to forfeit their nuclear missiles and all that as well?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was
That's
another
yep,
leverage point that they had. Two things now just gone.
bro. Exactly, and that's what I have
Sad
to say.
times.
That's an embarrassment, because let me just say, one thing the world has learned is never give up your nukes, bro. Do you know why North Korea right now hasn't been attacked, bro? The reason no one's attacking North Korea is because these guys have nukes. Ain't nobody gonna go near Kim Jong Un, no matter what the fuck he does to his people. Nobody is gonna go near that guy. People say yes, he's got backing of China, but that's not the only reason. These guys have the nuclear deterrent, the ultimate power. If Ukraine had the nuclear deterrent, it wouldn't have happened. Pakistan and India hate each other's guts, but both of them have nukes. They're not going to war anytime soon. Giving those up was Ukraine. Their leaders, up until this new guy, their leaders failed them at every single stage, giving up the nukes, l- aligning further with Europe, although they wanted to, and I see that the people wanted to. The leaders should have recognized that them doing that is they're gonna most likely enrage a superpower that's next door to you, and a NATO who doesn't want to back you. So that was a fucking dumb move, if I'm being honest. Because one, you've given up your fucking nukes. Second, you've pissed off your superpower that's next to you. And thirdly, the guys that you're trying to get on the side with are not actually there to help you. So now you set yourself up for war. Were you ready for the war? Most of them were not ready for this war. You needed to at least make sure your country was ready, that there was a few years ensuring that the people in your country were in the army, your reserves are up, make it scary for Russia to actually invade before you try to apply for Europe. But you wanted to go into Europe so quickly and into NATO so quickly that this is caused such an issue. The Ukrainian leaders have failed the country over and over, and the only guy I've seen that's actually done anything good is this guy who's Zelensky, who's actually sitting on the front lines back in the thing. He's the only guy I
and he
see
was a
to
what?
think.
He's like a Joe Rogan, basically. He's like the Ukrainian
He's a
Joe Rogan. He's
comedian.
like a comedian,
Yeah,
actor, host of some shows and shit. He's literally the Ukrainian Joe Rogan, bro.
and bro, so they've just signed a formal request to join the EU on a please add us in, bro. And EU are looking at it right now like, we're not trying to get that smoke, because if you get into the EU, are we gonna have to back you on a military basis? That's why
Normally,
they're
they
not.
have a criteria that you have to meet as well, like satisfy before you can even come into the EU. So it would be very unusual for them just to be like, join
That
you.
shit's flexible a lot of
But
That's
times.
all
Let's be
flexible,
real.
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, in moments like this is the perfect time for letting things slide,
Shit.
right?
Well,
That
so they
rule's been bent.
actually Ukraine. Go on, sorry, Maajid.
No, I said I was gonna say that rule's been bent.
Yeah, it's been bent for the countries they need to bend it for. It's been bent
Mm,
for the UK using their own currency for so long, as we remember, which obviously makes Brexit look
good
so
point.
dumb. But if you look at the Ukrainians, they asked for a special request in that they wanted them to bypass all of the all the red tape. I just don't think the EU would do it, and this will show you if they truly care, which I don't think they do. And we've seen people like the Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, had to be
So,
forced to give up. Well, I say forced. Well, he basically stepped down as controller of the club and passed it on to a private to the trustees of the Chelsea trustees or something, which is basically me telling my boy, "Yo, look after the thing while it's hot out." while it's hot, look after it.
yeah.
He didn't sell one shirt. He didn't sell one anything, bro. Like I
And,
just,
and the most
stepped
important
down.
thing is that those trustees, they've not even accepted it yet because they're having to consult lawyers to see if they can even take control of it as trustees. So
Yeah,
it's just Abramovich trying to hand it over so then it's in the background so then no sanctions can go onto his biggest asset. And then you've got
exactly.
the question of Abramovich is actually funding Chelsea, 1.5 billion debt. So if he actually, let's just say, gets sanctioned, what happens to Chelsea Football Club in the long term? They'll need to
Mm.
find a buyer for the club, and it's a complete mess. That's why you shouldn't really have state owners in football. But I suppose that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, no, that is true. It's true. And so you look at that. You look at that, and you see, he's now also now he's gone to Belarus to try and broker some of the peace talks. Um, Probably some sort of PR. Not gonna lie, his PR team. He's been working overtime this couple of weeks. He's he going from public enemy number one in the UK to he's part of the team. How he did that, I could not tell you, but yeah, it's interesting to see.
Mm.
But yeah, so that was more of a wrap up of what was been happening in Ukraine. It's been interesting to see. It's been sad to see. It's been
Mm.
horrible for the people, especially. And we've got friends who are from there, and they've been struggling to see their family leave the place. This is where they've grown up, and obviously we're hoping to see the bloodshed stop, and and no more destruction of just the infrastructure, the housing, the schools, the hospitals. And it's just, I think they're going to be taking many years of rebuilding. And it just shows you, sometimes in this world you're really out there for yourself. And I wish the Ukrainian leaders thought more about the country itself than their own personal goals of trying to join different, and being used as pawns to attack one of global superpowers. Because a lot of these poorer countries like Somalia, Yemen, Syria, they never really have the choice of whether they want to get involved in the politics. Ukraine had that choice. They could have decided we're not going to join NATO and we're not going to align with ourselves with Russia. We're just going to stay in the middle, buffer
It
zone,
just goes to show you
essentially.
with economy and technology, like it's so globalized, and when it works well, it's great. But when it doesn't, it's so fragile, and it's just like a domino effect.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we're
Yeah.
seeing how quickly that's coming to fruition right now for the wrong reasons, you know. And I just want to say shout out to Poland as well. Like they're doing bits in
Yeah.
terms of like helping out and putting themselves a lot of risk. And I mean, Russia and Poland aren't exactly the best of friends at the best of
Yeah.
times as well. So,
And,
shout out to Poland.
big shout out to Poland because they've taken some of the most migrants that are coming through, asylum seekers, basically. And you know what? They opened their doors and they accepted everyone. They had people at the border to drive them through. They were the best, and you have to say, compared to what these other European countries were doing, true leadership came from the Polish. Um, cool. So let's move on a little bit from that and go to some more light-hearted topics. Did you guys see about Adele being accused of being transphobic?
What's going on here?
I saw this, man. Like, this is actually
She's always in the
super
news.
annoying.
Poor girl,
So
Bro,
this is based
woman.
on the fact that she was at the awards show, right?
yep, yeah, exactly. The
Yeah,
award
yeah,
show.
calm. Yeah, so she was basically at some award show. I can't remember what the name of the show is because probably stupid. It's like it was supposed to be for like I don't know, gender binary neutral award show or something like that. So she wins this award.
That's nightmare.
She stands up there and she's just like, I know the award shows has changed, but I'm really like proud to be a woman, you know. And apparently, in 2022, that's like cancel kind of like that's like you basically said the N word like 10 times in a row, in violent, intent. And yes, she just said that, and apparently people think she's transphobic, and that's you see some dumb shit as well. Apparently, it's because she's been dating black men that she's transphobic extra because black men are transphobic or some shit. I don't know, man.
Listen,
I
yeah.
can't
You know
think
what? You know what? You know what made me laugh the most about this year? It was, bro. She was defo going for. I ain't gonna lie to you. That transphobic thing, it made sense. She was going for it, bro. Listen to this, yeah. Because when I looked into it a little bit more, I was like, oh, I see that. She defo was trying to say something here. So they recently changed the structure of the award. They made the award before it was like best female singer, best male singer, or whatever. That was the award, but they've got rid of those genders. I just said made it like best female, best made it gender neutral essentially. So during the gender neutral thing, she turned around and said, "Yeah, yeah, I love being a female." On the time they changed it, bro, I ain't gonna lie to you. They had every right to call her transphobic on that one because she clearly was gunning for it. What she said wasn't transphobic. I have to say, what she said, but she did it in a smart way. She kind of like she
Yeah,
thought,
but how
let
does
me
that make
go.
her transphobic though? Like,
It doesn't
it's
make
gender
her
neutral.
transphobic,
It's not gender
but
neutral. It's like
you can,
gender
but you can
neutrality or gender binary.
Uttery. No, no, no. So it doesn't make her transphobic, but it makes her like
Suspicion.
no, no. It's a suspicion, and also it's the way
That's
like it's like when you want to. When you want to cuss someone, but you can't do it directly. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it directly, so you still have like an out. She goes, "I love to be a woman." Look at those trans people, woman. You know what I mean? Like I would like to be a woman.
all
So
you
to
gender
say, as a
neutral niggas.
woman, I've taken this award. Do you get me?
It's
And
like, I don't
then
know about all you gender neutral motherfuckers, but these women out here, we run the world, girls.
so she was clearly saying it on some, that's why I saw it on a little bit like, yeah, I get where these guys are coming from. 'Cause I was thinking it couldn't just be that. When I looked in a little bit further, I noticed these guys were on this. But
What about you, Jay? I'm on Adele's side. What about you, Jay?
I'm always on her side because she's had so much flack for even losing weight. Like,
yeah,
I mean, for losing weight, she's getting flack. So I mean, she's got some real weird.
Imagine they were like, "How dare you live longer? How dare you increase your chances of living longer? How dare you?"
Honestly, yeah.
they're like
So I'm
they
on
were
her
saying it's
side.
because they were saying it was because she became skinny that she started acting like this. You know what I'm saying?
No.
They hate the fact she lost weight. They
Have you
actually
got any
hate the
Russian
fact.
bots in the chat, by the way, from Russia discussion?
No,
Nah,
they're
not
too busy
today.
right now.
Actually,
They're too busy
Uh,
with the cybercrime, bro.
they're
No,
busy,
that's
bro.
true.
They need to. They're working on overdrive today.
Alongside, in tandem with Dovey, let's not forget. Yeah.
Yeah, in tandem with Duffy. And then so we've recently seen basically so remember we spoke about the Joe Rogan situation with Spotify and all of that, the fact that they have him on their platform. Recently massive outrage came out on the fact that they found that his contract is worth not just 100 million, but it was worth 200 million.
Dun dun
He got,
dun.
one of the employees leaked it.
Dun dun
So
dun.
dumb, man. One of them leaked it, and they were getting bare angry, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you pay someone who's a misinformation, anti-vaxxer that much money. This is ridiculous. No wonder they've been trying to stand by him." And I was thinking, listen, they paid man 200 million, and they thought a couple of people doing a walkout in Spotify offices, they're gonna stop them, gonna kick him off the platform.
Is
Are
that the
you
only point
dumb?
they were trying to make? Yeah, from the
Y-
contract leaking. Was that the only thing that
Yeah,
was
that's the
leaked?
only point. They were just furious
That's
about the
dumb.
amount of money. Obviously, they hate anyone who's got money. This is
Yeah.
a well-known fact. They just don't like niggas who got money. But this guy had extra money than he thought than he had at the beginning, and now they realize how futile their attempts were of trying to kick him out. Because if you look at Rogan's numbers, he's bigger than ever now in Spotify. You know that he's
Hmm.
gained. He lost half his viewership when he first joined. Spotify. But not only did he recover, he's doing better than before now.
Oh, really? What,
So
better than
he's
when he was at YouTube? He's got
yes,
more
better.
numbers.
Yeah, more numbers than
No.
YouTube now. Yeah, so it has been a wild success for Spotify, and not only has grown into becoming the largest podcasting platform off the back of having the best podcaster in the world, Joe Rogan. Imagine
Wow.
so,
That
and
says a
then they
lot
got
considering
Su
Spotify's UI is horrible for podcasting.
exactly. So now imagine Susie and fucking Sam in the office went for a walk out because uh, he's been spreading what they consider misinformation, as if it's gonna happen, as if he's gonna get like removed from the platform.
Hasn't that singer that basically left Spotify? Hasn't he come back? Was it
Yeah,
Neil
half his
Young or
stuff came
something
back
like that?
because he realized that he ain't making no money. Half his shit came back, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of these musicians don't really have control of their music anyway. They can't just
Okay.
remove shit.
Hey, you move a bit to the left. Your face is off the screen. There we go.
I see. Yeah. Cool. And then we got the I just this is what I mean by these like poor people who don't understand like what I call them poor is like mentally poor because they believe that their shouting and outrage is bigger than an organization's willingness to make money. Netflix have now signed a multi-year deal with Dave Chappelle, the guy that was getting rinsed a couple of months ago because of his latest special. Imagine
Matter of
he's
fact,
back
you know
again.
what? They're sitting there in the business meetings, in the board meetings. They're like, Chappelle, sit down, sit down. You're trending viral. We're loving it. Oh, we didn't know you were
Bro,
gonna do it this year. You came at them last special. That was sick. That was sick. Hey, you had me tweeting as well. They were keeping me a little bit. Hey, chill,
they were
chill.
like, bro, come check the numbers. Come check the numbers. We all made bang. We all made bang, bro. They were like, if you want
They're
next,
like, Jake Paul who? Jake Paul who?
they were like, next episode, next one, yeah, please, we need you to put the trans shit at the front. Put the trans shit at the front. Because they're like, listen, yeah, because remember he promised he's not going to do any more trans jokes. They're like, listen, Dave, we'll give you an extra 15 million to bring the trans jokes back.
Dave, look, we've crunched the numbers, we've done the optimizations. If you look at it, if you bring the trans to the front, we're all gonna make 20 extra mils. So
So listen, they're like, we're not gonna sign another deal unless you get those trans jokes out the woodwork. Those trans jokes are your bread and butter, bro. And it's true. This is what they don't understand. They don't understand that these guys are making bank off it and them crying. Netflix did another walkout, obviously. You'd expect them to. Bro, they must be getting the steps in. They must be getting the steps in. And then Boris Johnson, very controversial, basically says COVID ain't no more. All restrictions in the UK have been lifted. You don't need to wear masks anywhere. You don't need to do any sort of social distancing. If you have COVID, you can come into work. Ain't nobody gonna stop you now.
what about the flights? The flights.
All the flight stuff have been removed. I think you might still require a vaccination, possibly, but I'm not sure. But majority of the testing, everything, that's all gone.
I'm gonna
I
check
think
that.
I think you require a vaccination because of the other countries.
Maybe I'll check that. I'll check that.
Yeah. So I have to say, Boris makes sense. It makes sense. People were getting angry about it.
Finally!
It makes sense.
Sense
It
of
makes sense.
relief, honestly. Like
Yeah, it's about
some
time.
sort of normality, and now we've got World War III to look forward to. So yeah.
Bro, hey, it's from one nightmare to the next. You know what someone was saying? Like our generation has been fucked over unbelievably. Like if you take into consideration the financial crashes of our childhoods, that basically made most of our families quite poor. Then us going into the recessions, and then that came after that. Then you see all of the COVID stuff, the World War stuff, information with social media, the attacks on our mental health and our minds. It's become a situation where the housing crisis, you cannot purchase a house without a significant amount of money. It's become unbelievable in compared to if you compare it to generation of the 80s, for example, or the early 90s, those guys were able to do a lot more than we can. Can you believe Sir Man had it was normal to say, we're going to the summer house this weekend, bruh. Imagine man, you just say
Yeah,
summer house. What do you mean summer house? Come get me the normal house first. Let me get the flat. Bro, imagine like they will have summer houses, multiple cars, all off the back of one guy working in the fucking in the garage, and the mum's been
yeah.
chilling at home with the kids, bro. Unbelievable what's been happening to the economy. Now you need to have two people who are earning high amounts of money to survive without kids.
It's mad. And living wages aren't going up in parallel with inflation and all
They
sorts.
have not.
There's more consumption than ever before, and yeah, the living wages are still lower than. I mean, not progressing at the rate that you would like.
Oh no, no,
And
it's significantly lower. It's significantly low, not just progressing. It's lower than Kishan comes in with the fuck them kids. What the fuck? But
what's that in
yeah,
relation to? What's the context? Or was that just a random comment from him?
it better not be about the Ukrainian kids, Kishan. You
But
know what I'm saying?
what I do want to say about the inflation
Okay.
thing is though, you have like inflation and money printing and the debasement of currencies for a long time, especially, and it has been happening for like a long time across history. Our period, like you said, this is a bad time for our
Runaway.
generation. I would say our generation generally has lived like kind of a peaceful lifestyle, like especially in the West, since we're living in the West, we live like generally like peaceful, mostly like technological progress has brought a lot of deflationary pressures, even though like fiat currencies are shit coins that basically make things expensive over time. Uh, Technological progression has let us have these laptops and computers, and even though technically the unit number is like it's expensive, like I don't know, a laptop is like I don't know, what's the newest phone cost, like how much they cost, like 1,000, 2,000.
They cook about 1,000.
Yeah, then after like a couple of years, they half the price, for example, you know. But with
Yeah.
everything else, like houses, for example, everything else like houses, like assets, they're just going up 24/7. They're never going
And
down.
those are the real sustainable sort of like assets that you need in order to level up. Like we're at an age of 20 to 30 years old, but we're seeing that the fertility rate just getting higher and higher because the sentiment's so low and the affordability to have kids and having a meaningful life for most people is having a family. And it's just more difficult than ever before because you're having to worry about yourself, never mind someone else, a little kid. This
Yeah,
is it's
exactly.
madness.
And yeah, Kishan saying, yeah, he was talking about the fact that you need two high income adults with no kids, and he's saying, yeah, fuck them kids, and it's true, you're gonna have to because that's why people are not having kids anymore. They can't have kids
Yeah.
anymore because it's become too expensive, and people having kids later, and it's sadly become a situation where um like Mazu said, I think the technological advancements are helping us stay afloat at this point. Without the technological advancements, we would nominally will be so far behind our counterparts in the 1980s and 70s, which they also had vastly peaceful time. um and it's so sad because people can't majority of people can't live on what they're earning anymore by themselves, and some of people can't can't raise families even on household incomes, and kids are being left forced to stay at home by themselves and being raised by the internet and TikTok, and gonna get a bunch of TikTok kids coming up, and is very sad because even me, where I'm a what's considered a high earner in London, struggling to purchase a house anywhere where I feel like I should be able to. I should be able to purchase a house within Zone 3, Zone 4, where I grew up. Is nearly impossible by yourself. Jawad did it somehow in fucking Ilford. I don't know how he finessed that, but that's a bunch of spreadsheets and nobody saw him for years.
Just literally, honestly, it's literally done, yeah. He's
You
doing
know what I
straight.
mean? So it's very hard to do, but
Mm.
he was still able to do it, and but it just shows you that it's become um and the thing is the rich are getting so much richer. I think this has been a fundamental flaw in capitalism, and although I am for capitalism to an extent, the rich have just gotten so significantly richer, while the poor have just gotten poorer. And
Yeah, yeah.
because of regulations, because of the fact that the companies are able to change laws to suit them using lobbying, and
Exactly. It's
consistently,
because
it's
it's,
just
it's because it's centralized. Jay was going to talk about that, weren't you? You're going to mention the
Yeah.
centralized and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like but before I even move on to, I find it very uncomfortable when you're seeing this monopolization of companies. Like, for Google can just come in and see an up and coming company and be like, okay, if they've got some interesting technology, let's just snap them up real quick, you know. And
yeah,
then what you're seeing is that when they snap them up, they're gonna distribute that money or whatever it is with their own ideology instead of it being.
yeah.
So there's very few entities out there in the world that are able to, they're the ones with all the power really, instead of it
Look at
actually
gaming.
being a bit more diluted.
Yeah,
And
look at gaming.
yeah,
Gaming
yeah,
right now, Microsoft,
Activision,
they just bought everything.
Tencent, Alphabet, all these companies just got
They've
tons
just
of money,
bought. They're
man.
buying everything up. And you know what? You know what they've been doing. Google actually quite smart about it. What they were doing is they wouldn't even purchase the company at first. They will partner up with you, send you a developer to learn all your shit, and then just fuck off and make your technology. And then they'll
Mm,
sink you in law fees. You can't go against. And if you try to sue them, they they have an army of lawyers ready to take you down. It was so smart, and it made it even cheaper for them to go about this. It was so bad they had to drop the "Let's not be evil" tagline that they used to have. Literally, like it's horrible. And then you see now governments have now becoming even smarter. They they're now wanting to control us to an even more an extent, in that they've saw the rise of Bitcoin, they saw the rise of these cryptocurrencies. So what do they think to themselves? Right, this is starting to cause us issues because this is freedoms we didn't expect for people to be having. No one asked you who told who allowed you for this freedom. Who allowed you to get away from our systems? They made their own. And Jay, if you like to talk about the centralized government and what's his name?
Joe
Uh,
Rogan, and he had Maajid Nawaaz. He used to be on LBC.
yeah,
You used to be a terrorist. Say it how it
Yeah,
is, bro.
he actually used to
Say it.
be
Say it with your
a
chest.
radicalized extremist, and I don't know, like, can't remember how, but he managed to get himself out of that murky waters, and
Like he
so
was, you
he,
know.
yeah, so he's actually seen firsthand like how you can get your mind polluted and become um, like subscribe to these crazy ideologies. So
hmm
he's looking at the government right now, and like Ayub and Masood, you know about Bitcoin and these decentralized currencies more than I do. But the government are actually trying to come up with their own counter to all this, which is a centralized sort of like currency. And
Yeah,
instead of it being,
CBDC, centralized digital bank currencies. Yeah, central bank digital currencies. There we go.
yeah, so instead of like you're getting fiat currency in the form of notes or whatever it is, it's going to be all digital. And let's just say, for example, you're working for Tesco or whatever it is, and you get your pay at the end of the month. It will be in a digital form, and but the problem is that you will only be able to use that money for specific things only. So
if they
they
want
can
to, yeah.
actually, yeah. So let's just say you get £1,000 worth of wages at the end of the month. Now, what will happen with that money is like you get a certain allotment for food, and you within that you'll also be told where you can spend that money on food. So you might only be able to spend a certain percentage of that at your KFC, right, on unhealthy food, and then the next amount of percentage will have to be on vegan food or a healthy sort of alternative. And
Yeah.
Imagine
basically
they
the
force
same
you
thing
vegan.
with different
Imagine they force you
categories
to
as
be
well.
vegan. Ah,
So,
terrorist. He's terrorist.
No. Nah,
so
if they did that, yeah, I'll be back on a terrorism vibe, bro. Naweed, what's his name again? Fucking Nawaz.
Imagine
Maajid
Noah.
Nawaz,
Majid
yeah.
Nawaz, bro. Listen, me and you would have to hit that terrorism thing against this government car. I'm not looking to go vegan yet.
But essentially, it's not even a wage at that point. It's just vouchers. Like
It
you're
is
just getting
vouchers, yeah.
vouchers. It's literally that. And I thought that it was one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. I highly
Really?
recommend it.
Oh, is that what
Honestly
you like?
speaking,
Man, okay, Carl,
It was so
listen,
good. I
This
enjoyed it
is
as
giving
well.
a false narrative to me.
I'm ready to take him down the rabbit hole. I'm ready. You
Nah,
look very right to me. You look
Honestly
right to me.
speaking, it's a must listen, yeah, and the timing of it is perfect for what we're going through right now. It's an eye
Yeah.
opener.
Can I
And
ask you?
just to explain. Oh, go
I
on.
feel like it's a lot of things that we already know about, but you just articulate it in the most perfect way possible, and
Yeah.
summarize it within 3 hours. Highly recommend.
It was fun watching. I watched a clip about specifically around the part when he was talking about the decentralization and stuff like that. And he was talking about centralization as decentralized. And he was like, the future is going to be way more decentralized and all that stuff. And he was describing that stuff.
Yeah,
And
but
I think go on.
I was saying, one thing I just wanted to clarify is that so the reason you're able to do those kind of voucher system that you're talking about is these things called smart contracts. These digital assets can be programmable, so the government can program in things into the money. So if they want the entire UK to only be spending money on, let's say they no longer want you to be purchasing Bitcoin, any transaction that looks like is going to be able to go towards a exchange, they can just program that out. They can program out what food they want you to buy. Your employer can also, depending if they have access to the blockchain, that this private blockchain they will be on, they can program in how they want you to spend your money. And if they allow you, maybe you can program your own money and decide that you want to maybe program your money to do this or that. But it is it's very scary. It's built into the code. You can do some stuff like this, but not to this granular level. And is what I mean is controlling aspect of these coins,
Yeah,
and
like with the
which is,
truckers, for example, the convoy, right?
yeah.
With the Ukraine, for example, the Ukrainian government actually their Twitter account posted, I think, a Bitcoin address. They were like, "Yo, if you wanna donate, you can donate Bitcoin to the UK, Ukrainian government."
All
And they said,
cryptocurrencies, 10 million they've
yeah,
raised.
they said they accept Ethereum and USDT and all that stuff as well. But they posted
Oh,
an address. They were like, "Shit, bro!" I was like, "Raw, the government is begging for Bitcoin."
10 million they've raised
I think it's
in
15
those
now. Yeah.
donations. Wow.
talking
So
about money, did you see that Patreon page about you can donate money to different tiers? You can purchase missiles for Ukraine and
yeah,
tanks and rifles.
that's
Oh
so
man!
funny, man.
Apparently, I don't know, but I thought it was a joke at first. But apparently, it was actually a real site, and Patreon had to like deny it because they can't be funding wars and stuff like that. I don't know if that's
God.
true. I heard something like
But
that.
that's what Maajid was talking about, though. He was talking about all these things and the fact that if you allow somebody or any entity, any organization to control the money, they're gonna control it, and that's just how it is. So, if I ask you guys, do you want your money controlled by someone else, or
Well, everyone feels
Yeah,
like
I
they've
guess
got
now.
moral responsibility, whether it's right or wrong. At the end of the day, like people think that they're doing the right things, but then they don't see the long-term ramifications for stuff as well. It's
Exactly.
difficult.
And the thing is, you're asking us the question: do we want people to control our money or not? The question is, do we? Can we answer that question for ourselves? And we can't. If if they want to, they will, and they've begun the process. So I know you're thinking, oh, we can use other cryptocurrencies, the ones that are on public blockchains, to actually try to circumvent the system. But what I want to say is, what about if they found ways to just block every single rail? We can't actually purchase these because they've programmed into the fucking Bitcoin, and all the money you've had, your fiat money that you get paid into Bitcoin, decided that you can't buy Bitcoin with it anymore. You can't buy this with it anymore, and they find ways to block it. Imagine these
I
guys can
honestly
do.
think that's possible. I
That's
think it is.
crazy. So the point is,
well, I mean, you work at like companies that are close with the banks and financial infrastructure. You know what they're working with. You know that the technology that they have at large scale that they can deploy currently right now to maybe prevent or install something, or especially at large scale when we talk about societies globally speaking. For example, the closest thing I can remember is like the vaccine passport. That was pretty like a big system that they were trying to instill, or the track and trace system in the UK. They try to do that. Like, how successful are they at actually implementing any strategy towards anything? Like, even like
I agree with you. I agree with you.
even like downloading images or sharing movies or selling drugs or any of these things that the government says we don't want to allow, they want to ban. They can't really control it much, to be honest.
I
On a global scale.
completely agree with you, 100%. Yes, inept the government, horrible execution majority of the time.
Yeah, on a
But the
global scale, they can't
Chinese,
function.
the Chinese are going to be doing it correct. These man come correct every single time. The Chinese come correct every time. And once people
Well,
see
no,
how the
there's
Chinese do
underground
it,
stuff in China all the time happening.
no,
There's
no,
secret
no,
something.
no. China has such a stronghold on their people, and you
Much
can
larger, yeah,
see,
for sure.
yeah, and when they deploy stuff, their things are always working correctly, and actually to an extent where they do it properly. And I think that these
They're
guys
like
are the
Apple.
best,
They're
bro.
slow
And
but polished.
polish, and you know what it is as well, they're the best people at controlling their population. I've never seen a population so controlled but the Chinese. So then now you're thinking to me, once the Chinese show the world this is how we did it, this is how we've got, because these guys were ahead of the game. Once they show that they've done it, Dubai is going to go next, obviously, because they got money, they want to jump on the wave.
Yeah, Jay
The
was talking
UK,
about. They were saying there's like a Chinese system for settlement, international payment, some of that. There's a system for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
We can just join that one, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So they do their own thing. Once they do it, and everyone sees how they do it, everyone's going to start implementing it. Which is the scary part, is that the Chinese are leading the way right now, and that if the UK was leading it, I would be scared. But the Chinese are going to show it how it's done, and everyone's going to copy and paste it. You know
But you
what I
know
mean?
what's the
Everyone.
problem with the UK? Yeah, like we just think about 4-year terms, right? And then
Yeah.
rotating so it's all self-interest. But with China, they've got a long-term interest and they stick to that plan, you know. And
Yeah.
that's why their strategies are way more effective. But it'll be interesting to see in the very, very long term, like 30, 40, 50 years, how the Chinese, like, sort of public, like, do they want to be more expressive and do they retaliate, or like how things, if the power balance shifts a little bit and they try to become a bit more westernized in their sort of thinking. I think it's possible, but who
Yeah,
knows?
we'll see. It depends on, I think, a lot of their economy, hoping if the economy starts to go to shit. Because really, the reason they've been able to do so much of the stuff they do is because of their economy. They've been backed by that money, that power. If stuff starts to go down, slow protests will begin. It will be much harder to keep control of the
But
population.
they've got power through control. But then the question becomes, what's the point of having all that money and power if if you can't have individuality and expression? You know,
Th-
what are you enjoying with that power and money? Like,
There's,
apart from the people at the very top, but
yeah,
as a normal Chinese citizen, like, you're benefiting. I think they're the fastest growing middle class society in the world. You know, because they're just
mhm,
making everything in house now, so
yeah,
they're
Yeah,
supporting
that's
all of
why I
those
think
jobs.
China made a massive mistake, though. I think that's why when they tried to like outlaw, because they have tight capital controls, when they tried to outlaw like crypto in general, but mainly Bitcoin, they made a massive mistake. You know, like now the rest of the countries around the world, especially like in North America, they've been like quite, I guess, I would say they've been adopting Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin infrastructure for a lot now, and yeah, I
but do you
think
not think?
the only thing that's capable of doing right now is removing state and money, and the only currency and the only project and technology that allows for that is Bitcoin in the world. So, yeah,
Nah, but do you not think that that's gonna, for them? Actually, I'd say that's probably the smartest thing that they've done. Banning Bitcoin was their smartest move because
for short term maybe no, but not long
no, no,
term.
no, no. Long term, I'm saying long
No.
term because the reason I say long term is because what these cryptocurrencies, what they do is they forego power from the government and then give it to the masses. This is why they're so good for the people. This is what they're intended for. However, China doesn't fucking want that. For China's goals, they don't want to be giving up this power. For them, it was so smart to create their own version. They can leverage their own power from that, and they can ensure that the one thing that was there that could cause any sort of issues to them is gone, banned from their ends. And then they're gonna, and other countries, once they start to see the ramifications of people being able to just, hide their money in cryptocurrencies, hopefully not be able to not have to be paying taxes quickly, these guys are going to start changing tune. But yeah, I think that's the end of the Let's Chat Shit podcast. Jay coming through for the first podcast.
Thank you very much,
Well,
Jay.
You know,
It's an honour.
sick
I just
guest.
want to say I hold all the views myself. Don't blame them if I've said anything wrong. They've just put me on a raffle ticket, you know. They've not vetted me, so
We have
any
not
bad
met him.
opinions are mine.
And yeah, thanks for coming this week. And make sure to
My
subscribe,
pleasure.
like, hit those Spotify, follow us on Spotify, our Twitter. We need them followers, bruv. Jump on them